All right. Went through and did a couple panels in the back there. Do a couple on that there. I think I did some detail there. And spot there. And then here, like I think I said before, just to get some different panels on the main body of the ship. Actually went and reprinted these because they were just so hard to clean out and things wanted to break, and especially this little detail piece there. And so I just reprinted them really quick on the bamboo and then painted them. Cleaning these two up took less than it did to clean this one up. I mean, it didn't come out bad, but I had to do a lot of sanding, and I'm like, I'm not in the mood to do it. And that piece broke off. And trying to clean out the pieces in here. I'm like, I'm not gonna to do this other one. Shoot, I could reprint overnight. And like I said, it took me less time to clean both of these than it did to do one of the other ones. So, but I do have going to start putting these on, but I do have to do a little filing to get them to go in with paint and stuff like that. It's to be expected. And it's been really humid and rainy, and that's probably making the PLA swell. So I'm just using a PLA plus, so it's a little stronger than normal PLA, but they still absorb moisture, I would imagine, no matter. And I'm kind of noticing, since they printed like this, that this side's better for these. Seems to fit over them better. And then the other side's been working for the other one. I might want to give it a little more before I start trying to force it down. But I'm going to keep on doing this, and we'll come back. I don't know if I'll film those going on. Probably going to be a pain in the butt. I foresee at least putting each one of these on this. It's rough, but then getting all four of them is really going to be fun. So we're really going to want to make sure this end is loose. But I figured it would be better to get them on this because it has the longest, pieces that are flimsy, and then the grains this way, so it can snap very easily. It would have been nice if it could have printed this way, or it'd be stronger. It might want to bend, but not snap. But we'll keep on sanding on. Okay. It's been a while since I've worked on her for a while. I don't know if I showed that I did some of the detail painting back here. Added a dark gray on there. More of a lighter gray on all those going around. These are all glued on, and I hit everything with a clear, so we're getting close to doing a wash. The astromech is all painted up. Like I say, he didn't have the detail here, like those little marks that are up on the head like most R2 units. Also notice that the Y-wing that you see in the movie was just a silver dome. He didn't really have any real detail at all. So that might be what they were thinking when they came up with him. That's all right. He makes him real different, but at least put a little purple cap on him. Give him something else. And of course, we hit the little screens back there and painted the whole dome silver, and then I hit a little gunmetal or zinc, I think, maybe, on the tips to kind of give it that darkened metal, like you see around those little, I don't know what you would call those. I know this one actually can project the image. There are probably some type of sensors on him. Did the green, so, but and of course did his legs up. But most of him is sunk in there, but that looks good. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a hinge for this door, and then I'm going to put some New Republic decals there to kind of tie it in with the E-Wing, which we're going to make these more of a New Republic kind of thing, my own version. And I found a nail. I think they're probably asking you to use a piece of filament, but filament, I think I would have to bore the holes out a little bigger for a piece of filament. But I found a little, real tiny little brad nail that I can just stick in there. It goes real deep in there. I should be able to do that. And now I have a semi hinge. I wish it was a little tighter. I wonder if I glue one. Maybe I glue it in here and just have it spin in this part. I think that might be the way to go. Let's try a little super glue. Let's try to get it to spread. I'll have a toothpick. There we go. And what I'll do is take a little bit of this, where we don't have a big bulge of super glue there. But yeah, I just used a little, kind of a little nail like that. Just cut, it was actually long enough, I just cut that cap and that would work. All right. I just need a little bowl of water. There we go. We don't need anything too special. Just use my little bowl. Towel. Don't want to leave them in too long. I think they break apart pretty quick. I wasn't sure if I was going to put these on or not. I wasn't sure where I would like them to be. I was thinking up on here, but I think the blue, it would lose that yellow, it would lose that gold band around it. Kind of like it did a little bit where I had to come half on the purple and a little bit, it was on the E-Wing. It ran, the decal I put on there went in a little bit on the purple, and you lost a little bit of the gold. You can see it up close, but so I think this is a better way to go. They, they loosen up really quick. Where is my... That's not it. This'll work. Oh, there it is. Sometimes you start organizing things, and I keep a little blue tape so I know what brush I use for decals. That's why I'm not using a dirty brush. All right. Like hopefully it'll go around this detail right there. Not sure where exactly I want it. I think I'm just going to try to match it, the gap there. Get down a little. Let's see if we can get it to sink down around this detail. Clean Q-tip. Cotton swab. I could use those stars as reference off this panel line on how square we are. I think that's working. Now, well, let's go ahead and get this other side on, and then we'll hit them with a. Oh, this ship's so big. Tweezers don't have enough strength to grab on that little piece of paper. Now I gotta try to match the other side. Boy, I think that's pretty much there. It's such a long ship. Kind of get a front landing gear right there. But I need to be able to see both sides here and not have to keep flipping it. It's trying to bend over that piece. Getting better every about a minute. Yep, it's gonna work. I might let it sit at that state. Make sure we're still looking aligned. Yeah, I like that. Almost thought about even putting it here, just a single one in the nose. But I like the both side kind of thing. I have a A-wing Hasbro New Republic A-wing, and it has these on here. And I was looking through, on Google on A-wing or on New Republic starfighters, and even some of their cruisers and freighters, and they have their symbol on it. They weren't trying to. Now they're since they're the New Republic, they're not really trying to hide what they are like the rebellion was. Like you really wouldn't put the rebellion symbol on your ship because then the Empire would have definitely knew what you are. It's kind of like from what I've heard on YouTube or why Han Solo picked a YT 1300 freighter is because and left it dirty and abused on the outside is because it drew less attention. Being beat up and looking like it's just a piece of crap. You know, even Luke's first time seeing it, was what a hunk of junk. He wasn't really, that was part of its camouflage as being a beat up freighter. I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit and then we'll check it. But let's see if our this should be dry. Yep, we can just slide that in. Maybe. Bingo. Now we have that hatch. And I'd much rather it be a piece of metal. Like I said, it's a little smaller than the hole, so it's going to have a little bit of a wobble like that. But that's okay. These canopies aren't the 100% smoothest. There's a little bit of more of a gap there. That could be because it's twisted. Maybe we do that a little bit. It's doing enough that it stays open, or if you need it, yeah, it's working to that advantage. You gotta make sure your gun turret's out of the way, though. Which I left that so it can still turn. Or if I need to take it off, clean some of the paint that is peeling off. There, yeah, that's better. Get rid of the gunk. Give it a good spin all the way around. Where it's wearing, you'll never see. Sweet. And I do like that the guns, they actually have holes in the barrel. That's a bonus. Usually on styrene kits, I'll have to go and drill holes. I might clean that one because it's a little clogged. I do it by hand. Yep, there we go. I think it just had, yep, that's better. I'll just grab my thin vise. Yeah, much better. All right, so we'll let this set, and then what we're going to do next is a wash. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to heavy do this. Kind of like the E-wing, we just kind of want just used wash. I don't want a lot of battle scars. Like the gold leaders was all chipped up here. We could probably do a couple. Definitely want to do just an overall wash here, and then I'm thinking I'm going to have to airbrush because to try to just brush on like I normally do a wash and then try to rub in here and take it off. It seems like I'm going to be in here with a Q-tip forever. I'm going to try to airbrush the wash in there and see how that works. If not, then I'll just straight up airbrush it and then do the Q-tip look. Here I can do that and my normal brush on and just wipe off. But I think all this back here that has all this detail, and then we'll do some rust spots on these pipes. Make it look like this was, even though it is a new Republic, it's probably just a reconditioned Y-wing that they have time to rebuild and keep it going nice. Well, all right. I shot some video and the audio didn't go very well, so that's the problem I'm having with these wireless microphones. But anyway, I did a wash. I used my, I just put the wash. I used this wash, which really this is just a black cracked acrylic and some alcohol. I I saved that bottle and mixed up my own. Here's the actual store-bought stuff. This is a lot darker. This I can make however I want it to be, which is great, but I like those bottles. So with all this detail, it'd be hard to just plaster it and then try to get in there with with cotton swabs and all that kind of stuff. So I figured I'd do like mainly what a lot of times ILM would do is they would just spray it on, and then I can go back and clean up areas. One thing I was talking about in the video that I had to just delete is to knock off some of the edges. You can use Scotch Brite. I've been mainly using my hand. It's been working really good since it's a craft acrylic. It comes off really easy. But what you're doing is you're really just knocking those corners off to make the dirt look more natural. Like, the ship's not just static. It gets worked on. People are crawling all over it. And you'll actually clean the dirty spots off, you know, naturally by working on it and whatever and whatnot. So it gives a level of realism and it gives some depth to everything because your high spots will get scraped off and cleaned slightly, and your low spots will hold the dirt just like things would do naturally. I've just been going around with a little bit of this real soft Scotch Brite and hitting some areas, softening it up. The clear coat, especially it being a craft acrylic, will kind of do that too because it'll reactivate the paint. It's really nice to go in there and just knock some of these corners. And then what else I did is I added some rust. That's what I was doing mainly in that video with some of the Vallejo rust oxidizing. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do to make some of these pipes look a little better, where I did the rust, is I'll hit them with some pastels. Like I said, I didn't want to go over crazy with all the rust and stuff. This is supposed to be what I'm calling it's definitely a New Republic, but I'm going to call it like it's been rebuilt. So like the engine's been all redone and repiped, but she's been used for a while. Just like the E-wing, I didn't really want to over dirty that up because it's supposed to be, it hasn't seen the battles like the Rebellion Y-wings and ships had, because they were constantly, anytime they went out for a purpose. Where some of these can just be police patrolling, like you see on Mandalorian. Like I can just clean the edges of that gun just by running my finger over it. Even though I did hit that a couple times with it. Can't get in those little spots. Just take a Q-tip. Because I think those little scratches, now they look like scratches. I just think it gets more realism. It's nothing would be like it's dirty, it's dirty. There's going to be some clean spots that get scratched into it. All right, but I think if we do a little bit of get that down in there, clean some of that up. There we go. Got something really good back here. Like it cleans all the high spots on the engine parts. All right. So pastels. Should be, there you are. and then we'll do a clear, and then she's done. So this is just a static one. We'll do a real nice gold leader in the future. A lot of times, what works good on here is doing the old brush thing. Because the liquid rust wash gives you the heavier spots. I can even do things like that. Make sure you get the underneath, an area you can't reach. And you can even just cock a corner with a little bit of the rust. I like how the pastels make the wet wash kind of blend in. Thought about doing some silver chips up along the on the canopy. I might hold up on that and do that on the gold one, the next one we do. There you go. I think we just gotta flip it over. But there you're getting a there you're getting the idea what's going down. But let's get a little bit under here where we hit some rust. Should get that Scotch-Brite back out. Yeah. Great job. I even did add a little shading in there. Sometimes the pastels have trouble with the glossier paints. Doesn't have anything to really rub into. If we're using the pad side, will kind of help. But this one's getting really bad. It's really just a makeup pad. Really all it is. This whole brush really just I think I am good with that. I think it's time to that's all I really more I want to do to it. Like I said, the gold leader will spend a lot more time with. Still debating if I do that in resin. I think I will, just because of the ease of use with the slicer. Be able to drill some more holes where I need them. Flip you back around. But there we go. Like I said, I don't mind a couple like areas that like, okay, this thing's having a leak problem. Maybe she's been on a really humid base, warm, humid, kind of like the oven is. Yeah, I like it. We'll hit a clear coat. That should kind of settle everything a little less, you know, make it more one piece. Especially with the rust. Even just the humidity in the air, especially with the pastels, will start to make them feel a little more together. But that's also where pastels kind of look good. Sometimes I'll even come in after I do my final clear and just dab a little because it kind of makes it look like dry, powdery rust instead of a rust stain. But I am happy with that. I probably went a little more heavier with the washing and the wear and tear than I was really thinking I was going to, but I like it. All right, here she is. All finished up. I put a flat coat on her a little earlier, seal in all the weathering. She came out nice. And I still have Android can come out. I still have that so that can move. Our hinged cockpit. And those decals I think worked good there. Probably should turn on a light so you can see inside the. There we go. Very nice. Yeah, fun build. I'm looking forward to doing the next one and getting it to light up. Like I said, they do a lot of tunneling for you so you can get lights in there. They already have the holes pre-drilled for to put an LED back here. I'll probably put a flickering. And like I said here, I'm probably going to do this since this cockpit is completely separate from the hull. I'll probably do it in a clear and just light the whole plastic and then do a black light block and scratch some of the buttons and, you know, things like that to get this cockpit to glow, the monitors and stuff. Underneath, the landing gear are pretty cool. Which came out nice, even though we had that horrible supports on a lot of these pieces, especially this. Not too bad, and I think what this one is from Gambodies. Looks real nice. The only thing, you know, there's not much they could do, but the only thing that bothers me is these having to hold those on. But unless you put rods, metal rods in these parts, there would be no way. So I get that design. There's the back that came out really cool.
Engines we dirtied up a little bit. Like I said, I didn't want to go overboard with weathering because this is a New Republic ship, so this hasn't seen all the battles. But I hope you enjoyed it, the series. It's just something quick and dirty to do. But until next time, thanks for watching.